Hey everybody, so this is me, Professor Davis. Wanted to check in with you about this assignment on the Reconstruction, America after the Civil War, and these discussions and conversations I'm prompting you towards having. So let me just cover a few things really quick. First of all, this is basically a very non-traditional type of assignment. So there's a lot of emails I'm getting is I don't know how to do that, or I've never. This is why we're in school, right? So I want you to try to challenge yourself, because in the end, this is just a big benefit to you all. You're have much more access to more advanced technology than I ever did. So let's just start with what this assignment really is. So regarding critical thinking, it's an opportunity for you to access this great documentary on PBS, which is really good. And maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't, but I want you to approach it as if you have not, and taken the information that's provided in these 4 intense episodes of history. And I think it's really important that you remember that it's really imperative that you learn your history, that you understand it. Sorry, my phone is wonky right now. It's that you understand your history, because if ever there was a time to understand this period of time in 30, 40 years, the insurrection that happened on January 6th will be long gone in memory, perhaps. But what caused it is really important. So what has happened in the past in America, it's very important to see that while things change, nothing really changes and everything stays the same. But I want you to know what happened 160 years ago, 140 years ago, because I think it's really important that you understand it. And by having this assignment, I want you to take notes. And then here comes the hard part. I get this a lot as well. I don't have any elders. You have elders all around you, fellow faculty members, neighbors, the grocery store guy who you might be, familiar with, the manager of Burger King, your aunts, your uncles, friends of your grandparents. If your grandparents are no longer with us, you have all types of people that you can ask to sit down with you and exchange information. You don't have to be with somebody that knows American history. You may have parents that weren't born, or grandparents that weren't born in the United States. That doesn't mean that they can't, if they're here and they've come here, they have every right to understand and own the United States of America's history just like anybody else. I mean, to become a citizen, you have to undergo major testing. So, but hearing it from you or a friend of your, hearing it from you as a young person saying, I'd love to talk with you, that's the most important part of this, is that I don't want you to go in, write some questions down, and then ask them and get an answer and go to the next question. I want you to look at it as an opportunity to have a conversation with somebody and share information. Even if somebody doesn't know what Reconstruction is, it's up to you to try to explain it to them. And then understand that, just because the slaves were freed doesn't mean that the African enslaved were free. As you can see with the George Floyd trial going on, and then even in the midst of that in Minnesota, Dante Wright was killed on Sunday night by a policewoman who thought she was pulling out her taser, but pulled out a gun. Oops. And gone, another black life. So it's important for you to understand that black lives haven't mattered in any capacity, no matter what people tell you, since the freedom of the slaves. It happened, thank goodness. But then what happened after Reconstruction, all this amazing growth happened, as you will see. But then how do you describe the desertion of the United States government in the South? The compromise of 1877, how do you discuss that? How do you let people know that that actually happened? The United States government was like, fine, we'll get the votes from South Carolina, Louisiana, and Florida, so that Rutherford B. Hayes, the Republican, and the Republicans used to be the good guys. Remember, Lincoln was a Republican. Not that Republicans are bad guys, I'm just saying there was a switch, and it happened over 100 and some years. But that even that in of itself is something to know and understand and discuss. This is about a discussion. It's not about what people know. It's about what you can teach someone and they can teach you. So please understand that I call this minding the gap, meaning that there's a gap in understanding. The more that you learn, the more you're able to share it with other people. And not like, I know this, do you know it? Because if you don't know it, that's not what this is about. Okay? This is not about you finding somebody to talk to that you're comfortable with. It's about seeking out somebody that you may or may not know and having set up prepared questions. You might not use them, but at least you have some basis to start a conversation. And then you're also supposed to formulate some questions that you think they might want to ask you and let them have those and have them ask you questions. It's to create a recorded document or document a recorded conversation that you will always have. And you should anyway be recording conversations with your elders, even if not for an assignment. You should do it anyway. I did it, thank goodness, for my dear auntie who passed away in December. And my cousins never knew that I had recorded this talk I had with her about my mother and her growing up in New York. But I'm so glad that I have that. I have that incredible conversation. So it's that type of thing. It's remembering and honoring what you may not know in order to perpetuate more growth in your knowledge and sharing that knowledge and having knowledge be shared with you. So I hope you understand that. Regarding the conversation itself, you need to record it either by video or audio recording, create the file, and then if it's too big, either A, convert it to make it smaller, or B, you have to be able to give me access to it so when I see your transcript in iLearn, I can then hear the recording. You can share it with me. I don't want this. I'd rather you have them both on iLearn, but the file may be too big. So you should share it with me on Google Drive. You get a Google Drive, you post the recording there, and then send me an invitation on Google Drive. You should always post all of your assignments on Portfolium. That's a given. That's for you. But for the assignment, so that I have access to it, if it's too big of a file and you can't post it to iLearn, you have a couple of choices. Number one, call Academic Technology. Always call them. Don't write me and tell me you can't do something because I can't help you and I get so many emails. I suggest you call Academic Technology at 415-405-5555 and they will help you. And then also record it on the easily formatted MP4 format or WAV format. And if it's a video recording, try to keep it under 20 to 30 minutes. I didn't talk about length because you should just make sure you go through the questions. It'll be as long as it is. It needs to be at least, at a minimum, 15 minutes, okay? Also, remember that it doesn't matter what people know or don't know that you're interviewing. I think I'm repeating myself, but please remember, it's important that you share in a conversation. We're in a new era. We're in the age of COVID, and hopefully at some point soon it'll be post-COVID. There's still going to be all types of modalities in regarding how you're going to learn. But one of the most important things is to learn how to engage and go out of your comfort zone. I know this because we're all locked up and cooped up and isolated from each other, and I know I am in particular. And it's going to be an art form to learn how to reach out and communicate with each other. So start now so that when this is all over, you'll be like, hey, remember when we did that recording a couple years ago? Well, not only did I get a great grade, it was such a great thing. I'm so glad I have that conversation. These are the things that you want to think about ahead of the game, which will help you just get started and do it and turn it in, okay? These are all parts of the job of learning. And my job is to help you to learn how to do what you can do to your best ability. I guess that's it. Please email me as soon as possible who you're going to interview and when you're going to interview them. Again, if you have relatives that don't speak English or weren't here, get a translator. Or if you don't speak Spanish or Mandarin or Spanish or Portuguese or French or wherever your families come from, get somebody to translate. Just have the conversation.